So if you were to go talk to friends and family and ask them how they were doing financially, you get a group that probably say, you know what, it's tough right now. You know, it's hard to afford things, right? It's a struggle in this economy. And then you get another group that says, you know, I'm doing okay. You know, I'm just getting by, but it is still kind of tough. And when you have these conversations with your friends and family, it feels like everyone is struggling financially in this economy. And then there's this, other than a select few. Okay, where they're doing well off, and for whatever reason, maybe they came across some money, maybe their family is wealthy, and in your mind you're like, you know what, everyone is struggling, everyone's living paycheck to paycheck except a very select few, and sometimes that is the case, but then sometimes the reality is that some people are the way they manage money is a little differently than the way you do it. Okay, because if you ask people why they're struggling financially, right? If you look to it, it's like what 2/3 of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, and it continues to grow every year. The fact that so many people hate their jobs, like they feel like they're stuck, like they want to do better financially, but they hate their job so much they feel unfulfilled, like they feel like they're just stuck and caught in this rat race. And also, people feel like they can't afford a home. Right? And for a lot of people, the American dream is to be able to buy a home. And that's where a lot of their accomplishment and pride comes from, being able to purchase a home. And when people feel like they can't do that, it gets to a point where like, what's the point? Like even myself, when it came to how I was managing money, it wasn't until as I graduated college and read Rich Dad Poor Dad, where I thought, you know what? If I want to build wealth, then I have to think differently than a lot of people. And once you start reading that book and you start educating yourself, then you say, okay, these are the things that you got to do. So in this video, we're going to talk about the 5 things that you need to do in order to get ahead financially, right? So number 1, do the opposite of what everyone else is doing, okay? And this is something I've always, thought to myself, like if you want to be successful, do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. Go against the grain, because you see the way other people operate, especially when it comes to managing their money. People tend to get into debt. People tend to buy the things in order to feel wealthy. You want to do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. Right? Some people, they'll spend money on things that, that obviously is going to put them more into debt. You want to make sure when it comes to building wealth, you want to do the opposite of what everyone's doing. Educating yourself, reading books, things that most people aren't doing when it comes to building wealth, right? And that's something I've always told myself. Like when it comes to obviously anything that comes with the finances, what everyone else is doing, I try to do the opposite. So that's something I've always kept in my mind. Number 2, all right. You want to make sure that you want to get comfortable being uncomfortable, okay? And I always like to say, like, you know what? Go towards pain, right? Like, and that's the hardest part for a lot of people, like to go towards pain, to do the things that make them uncomfortable, right? Because in order to grow, you have to be uncomfortable. You have to be comfortable doing the uncomfortable thing. Because for a lot of people, it's easy to be comfortable, right? It's easy to just say, sit down, watch TV instead of reading a book, right? It's easy to go to sleep when you can be actually working on something that's going to help you build wealth long term. Right, most people tend to go the path of the path of least resistance, and that's human nature, right? You don't want to do what's hard, but in order to be to be different than everyone and do the opposite of what everyone's doing, you have to go towards the thing that's difficult, because that's how you grow as an individual. And I think that's for a lot of people. And one thing I always tell myself is like, all right, let's say I want to do something, right? And let's say there's something that needs to be done and I don't want to do it. That's a way to say, all right, Ralph, you got to do it, right? Clearly, if you don't want to do it, if the body's resisting, that means you have to go do it, right? Go towards pain. Right. Obviously, I'm not talking about physical pain, right? You don't want to put pain in yourself, but it's like working out, right? In order to build muscle, you gotta actually, tear those muscles, right? You got to build resistance in those muscles in order to develop muscle. So when you're looking to build wealth and you want to do things differently, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and that's something I've always always try to tell myself. It's like when if there's something that needs to be done and I don't feel like doing it, that just tells me that I have to do it. So that's something that's something that you can just always keep in mind. All right, so number 3, eliminate consumer debt. Right. One thing I've learned is that as difficult as life can be, especially now during these economic times, it's a whole lot difficult when you have debt. Okay, but once you eliminate that debt, even during times where it's a struggle, it doesn't put a lot of stress on your life. Okay, so if you're gonna get rid of the debt and make sure that the money that you're making, especially wherever you work, is not going to some bank, some corporation, it's coming, making sure it's going to your bank account, it's going into your investments, going back into helping you build wealth long term. It makes life that much easier, and that should be a priority for a lot of people. Making sure you get rid of consumer debt, right? And when it comes to wealth, right, or there's a rule I have. Don't acquire any debt that doesn't make you money, right? Outside of your home, right? If you're thinking about purchasing something, you're thinking about financing something, if it doesn't make you money, don't do it, right? Outside of the home, obviously. And even some people can question that as well. But if it's not making you money, then don't do it, right? I know for a lot of people, financing a car, using your credit card, and you're not paying off the balance every month. You do not finance anything that's not going to get you a return on that investment. And so that's a simple rule, right? Whatever it is that you're purchasing, if you're thinking about financing something, you're thinking about making a purchase and you're thinking about financing, if it doesn't make you money, don't do it. That's just something I tell myself, and it's helped me to this day, and especially when it comes to managing my money. It's helped me obviously it's helped me make sure that I don't fall into bad habits when it comes to my finances. All right, now number 4. Live below your means, right? While at the same time trying to increase your means, right? And this is something that obviously most people struggle with, right? Most people are not living below their means or within their means. People are living above their means. So if you want to get ahead of 99% of people, learn how to live below your means while at the same time trying to increase your means. Because let's be real, even most people, like I said, live above their means. And even those that are living within their means, one thing they're not doing is trying to figure out a way how to increase your means at the same time while living on your means. Because let's be real, regardless of how much your income bracket, you should always be living within your means, right? If you make $1 million a year, you should be making sure that you spend less than $1 million. Making $10 million, you need to be spending less. So it doesn't really matter how much you make. You should always be doing that. But what people aren't doing is trying to figure out how to increase their means at the same time, right? So when I say increase your means, is how to increase your income. Okay, so that's something that you should always be trying to do. Live below your means while at the same time trying to increase your means. Okay. Now, number five, create your own job security. And what I mean by that is business. Try to start a business, right? We live in times where you see people getting laid off, people worried about getting laid off, people worried about recession, and during recessions, obviously this is where a lot of people lose their jobs, and a lot of people are complaining about how there's no loyalty when it comes to these companies. So for me, I've always had the mindset, especially since I read Rich Dad Poor Dad and other books throughout the years, is you have to find a way to create your own job security. Okay, where you don't have, regardless if there's an economic downturn or whatever's going on in the economy, you have control over your finances. Okay, you don't leave that up to some other corporation, some job where they can let you go whenever they want to. Okay, because that happens, or there's an economic crash where the stock market crashes and there's so much, people getting laid off. You want to get to a point where you create your own job security through a business where you create your income. And like I said, you don't have to make a lot of money. You just need to make enough money to cover your expenses, right? If you want to make $50K a year, $100K a year, that's up to you. And if you ever want to make more money, you can control that. So I know for a lot of people, they don't want to start a business, but like I said, right, point 1 and 2, right, get comfortable being uncomfortable, or do the opposite of what everyone is doing, right? Not everyone is starting a business. Right? Most people don't want to do it because it's difficult and they're worried about the failure. But if you want to get ahead of 99% of people, you want to be that 1%, then you have to try to maybe think about starting a business, because that's one of the best ways to generate income and build wealth. And I know for a lot of people, most people aren't doing that. It's hard, it's difficult, it takes a lot of work. But like I said, you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And for me, I would recommend, I know a lot of people, it's hard for everyone to start a business, and most people don't want to do it, but I still would recommend a lot of people do it if you want to be differently than a lot of people. So those are my 5 points. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Make sure to leave a comment down below, hit the like button, share, and if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe. All right, so guys, take care and have a good one. Later.